Hi, I'm Nick Hughes. I'm co-founder of Inspire Tribe and a co-founder of the EQ Code. And today in this video, I'd like to take you through a quick overview of emotional intelligence and highlight what the difference between high and low emotional intelligence, but also the importance of considering emotional intelligence gaps. When it comes to emotional intelligence, I like to first indicate that emotional intelligence, mindset, and the phrases of EQ and EI are all much of a muchness. So when it comes to our thinking, our emotional intelligence fundamentally determines how flexible our mindset is, how agile we are, how likely we are to have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And likewise, our mindset will determine how quickly we can improve our emotional intelligence. EQ, emotional quotient, EI, emotional intelligence. It doesn't matter which you use, both can be used to indicate emotional intelligence. Now, I like the Daniel Goleman framework when it comes to quickly explaining emotional intelligence and the core aspects of emotional intelligence. There are other models out there, but none are as beautifully simplistic as this one, I feel. So the Goleman model indicates that there's two core aspects. There's the internal aspect of emotional intelligence and the external aspect, so dealing with others. And then there's the awareness aspect and the management aspect of emotional intelligence. So if we look at the internal awareness aspect, that's our own ability to understand, to work with, and to notice our own thoughts, feelings, and reactions when it comes to the external environment, how it impacts us personally. So if we're not very self-aware, we won't notice our body. We'll be very much in our head and always thinking about things. But if we have a good level of self-awareness, then when things happen, we'll notice how our body feels. We'll notice what happens in our heart and our stomach, what happens in our neck and back and chest. So we'll have a very good physical self-awareness, and we'll also have an understanding, being able to put labels to what's happening in our body. So that's self-awareness. Self-management is our ability to control our emotions and manage our emotions such that we can curb the ones that curb going too high and curb going too low, and we can guide our emotions to use the energy in a productive and efficient way, whether that energy be the energy of anger or the energy of happiness and excitement. It doesn't matter what type of energy it is or what type of feeling it is. If we can manage it well, then we get more of what we want in our life, and we can reduce what we don't want. The other aspect of emotional intelligence is the external aspect. So social awareness is the ability to understand and see and predict other people's thoughts, feelings, and actions based on particular scenarios. So when we're aware of what things might how things might feel to other people, when we're aware that other people's thoughts, feelings, and reactions are going to be very different to ours, then we have a good degree of social awareness. And if we can see the reaction of people's faces and acknowledge and their body language and acknowledge those small social and non-verbal cues, then our social awareness is high. Relationship management is the ability to take that awareness that we have and guide people to be able to and influence them and manage them in a way that sees both themselves and ourselves getting what we want, more of what we want, and less of what we don't. It helps us to, if we have good relationship management, it helps us to align individuals well and get individuals to head in a common direction rather than individuals heading off in all different chaotic directions. Now, when it comes to emotional intelligence, it's common to consider both high and low emotional intelligence. So overall, does someone have good skills or bad skills? And I think that that's useful, and there are statistics, and you'll see some of our other videos where we talk about the statistics around high emotional intelligence and low emotional intelligence. But I also think it's really, really critical that we acknowledge the importance of emotional intelligence gaps. And that's important because what happens in our society is there are gaps that are more obvious, some gaps that are more obvious than others, and therefore we tend to focus on some people and their emotional intelligence issues, but we fail to pick up and understand the importance of other emotional intelligence issues. So let me go into more detail there. When it comes to emotional intelligence, there are some individuals who are very good with self-management. So they're not particularly self-aware, this used to be me, not particularly self-aware of our feelings and the reactions that are happening in our body, but we're very good at controlling ourselves, using our thinking to understand what's acceptable, socially acceptable, and not what's not. And what happens with individuals such as this is we're often high IQ individuals, not always, but often high IQ, are very practical and logical individuals. And because we can contain our emotions, we feel relatively emotionally intelligent because we go through the day not saying stuff that we don't want and just being quite logical and practical. Challenge with this is our low level of self-awareness means we're unaware of other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions and reactions, and therefore we're not able to predict what our actions are going to feel like to these individuals, and we'll end up in relationship management issues. Biggest thing that can happen with particularly high IQ individuals, if they're high in self-management, so they're very good and very logical and very structured, is because they're high IQ, I did, feel that our emotional intelligence must match our intellect. So we actually become high IQ, low EQ, but think we have high EQ. It's a very dangerous combination. What happens with individuals, that bucket is we go away around and accidentally wound others, having no awareness of the fact that we're doing that. And when they wound us back, we're okay with it because we're emotionally resilient, because we're very good at managing and protecting our feelings, if not being aware of them. And it leads to us coming across as being cold-hearted and not looking after others, when really it's just a matter of we expect that everyone else is as good at managing emotions as we are, or that they should be. So that's one type of emotional intelligence gap. Very good in one area, very poor in the other. And that's the obvious one. We often talk about, those types of individuals. They're the obvious, brutal ones in the workplace. But there's a very different type of emotional intelligence gap of someone who's very good at relationship management, as an example. And this person can be in the sales area or in management, and they're very good at getting people to do what they want. Now, they may not be doing that in a way that feels good and sustainable on a long-term basis for themselves or other people, but they're really good at relationship management. They understand the rules of social interaction. And although they're not really using the feeling-based aspect of it, they've done enough training and understand enough about the general population and how to manipulate the general population in order to get them to do what they want. So again, an important gap. And this one can lead to people feeling bad, but not being aware of why they're feeling bad, because this person is managing people very well, but without really deeply considering the impact on themselves and the impact on other individuals. Another type of gap is the individual who is very socially aware. And so it's very concerned and empathetic around other people's thoughts, feelings, emotions, and reactions. And they do this to their own detriment. So instead of being aware of their own thoughts and feelings and reactions and looking after their own thoughts and feelings and reactions, they have an unconscious need to look after other people in order to feel like a good, kind person themselves. And I think when it comes to gaps, this is probably one of the most common gaps, and it's the hardest to see. So this person comes across as being beautifully nice, kind, empathetic, good, hard, loyal social worker, a socially good and loyal worker. But their social awareness and looking after others ends up meaning that they don't look after themselves. So they end up feeling depleted, and so depleted that they can't physically look after themselves. So these people can end up exhausted, resentful. They can also end up feeling depressed if this is happening not only in the workplace, but also at home. So someone has this pervasive strategy throughout their life. There are other people who have the basically good social and relationship management outside of their home. So they're very good publicly, they know how to have fun and to enjoy and engage with people. But when they go out, they do so at the expense of themselves. So they sort of look after the crowd and please the crowd in a way that doesn't necessarily feel 100% congruent. And so when they go home, they have a bit of a social hangover and end up dropping down and feeling exhausted. The other opposite way of that is we've got people who've got good self-awareness and self-management, and I talked about these groups before. So these people are highly productive, often very successful individuals because they're very aware of how they feel and what they feel is good for them. And they may be aware of this to a degree, but not to a high degree. So they sort of push others and guide them in a way that feels good to themselves, but not so good to the people around them. So highly successful in business quite often, but relationships mightn't be so good at home with their partners and their children. This is a quick overview of emotional intelligence, the 4 quadrants, and a bit about how they interact. I hope it's been of use to you. I did say I'm Nick Hughes, and I'm co-founder of Inspire Tribe, but more importantly, co-developer of the EQ Code. So just 30 seconds on that. The EQ Code is a stunningly simple coding system and intellectual understanding of emotional intelligence that goes into the extreme black and white thinking that must support fundamentally strong emotional intelligence. Once we understand the very simple black and white logic that underpins emotional intelligence, we're able to find a feeling-based space that feels good to ourselves and those around us as well. And so we can take this framework and use it to support the improvement of emotional intelligence at a very rapid rate for even the most emotionally unintelligent of individuals. And we can also take leaders who have an extremely high degree of emotional intelligence and operate from a very feeling-based space and help them to quickly drill down and see the black and white logic that they have underneath that's supporting them in that beautiful space that they work in. So no matter which way you are, the EQ code can help strong leaders to become very capable of improving the emotional intelligence of their team members once everyone understands the very simple language of the EQ code. If you'd like to find out more about that and you'd like to take your business to the next level, please feel free to check out our website, inspiretribe.com.au. I realise there's no I in now, I better put that in there for you. Inspiretribe.com.au. Give us a call or send me an email, nick, N-I-K-K, @inspiretribe.com.au. I'd love to talk to you more about it and find out about how emotional intelligence might improving the emotional intelligence of your team might improve your business. Thanks very much.